Did Oklahoma State just put the rest of the Big 12 on notice with their new hire? That's a question we need to ask here. I think initial gut reaction is that this is a very, very good hire made by Chad Weiberg in Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy out, fired him early on after the loss to Tulsa way back in September. It's crazy. That doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was like 2.5 months ago. They hire Eric Morris. If you recognize the name, he's a former Texas Tech wide receiver. He was also a Texas Tech offensive coordinator once upon a time when a guy named Patrick Mahomes was playing quarterback at Texas Tech. And that's kind of the theme here. Like Eric Morris, been a guy that's worked with and developed some very, very good quarterbacks. Emphasis on that. Very, very good quarterbacks. He is an offensive guy. This is somebody who is going to make the offense much better. And I think the question becomes now, okay, you've got these like offensive guy archetypes, right? Is this Sean McVay or is this Cliff Kingsbury? That's like, I think the scale of what you're looking at here. Is this a guy who won't ever be able to figure out defense and he's just a great offensive coordinator or is he somebody that's a total package? I know obviously McVay in the NFL is just the first name that popped into my head when I think about offensive minded head coach is doing a great job. Lane Kiffin, do we want to go Lane Kiffin? I don't think Eric Morris is going to have the theatrics that come along with that. But I think it's the part one, I would just rather roll with an offensive guy at probably 9 times out of 10, at least these days anyway, because it's so important to get the quarterback right. An offensive guy, I think, gives you a better opportunity to do that. So I like that. But also, like Oklahoma State's program had been very dull and lifeless, and the offense was a big part of that. I saw Shahan Jayaraja pointed out they have not had a top half of the league offense since the pandemic. It's crazy. Like since 2020, Oklahoma State, you think about Justin Blackman and Brandon Whedon and Des Bryant, Mason Rudolph, all these guys that they have had, Tylan Wallace, right? I mean, it's been that long since they had a top half of the league offense. They were last in the league in offense this year. So it's a major deficiency. You need an injection of life, and the easiest way to do that is to bring in somebody who can coach offense. And that's what they're doing with Eric Morris. So I definitely like that. If you're looking at his track record, Coach Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, he discovered Cam Ward as a 0-star recruit with no real major offers playing in a like run-heavy offense in high school. He plucks Cam Ward out to Incarnate Word, where he was the head coach, and turns him into a guy that eventually winds up as the number 1 overall pick in the draft, which is a crazy ascension, right? He becomes one of the most sought-after guys in the portal, makes a ton of money to go to Miami, and then gets taken number 1 overall in the draft. He then is at Washington State, where he develops John Mateer, who then gets plucked by Oklahoma, right? There's another quarterback to add to the ledger of the work that Morris has done. Last year at North Texas, he resurrected, Big 12 fans, again, there's Big 12 connections everywhere here. He resurrected the career of Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris, of course, famously, I guess he really got Wally pipped by Max Duggan in 2022 and then just fell into relative obscurity before suddenly, I'm trying to remember. Did he play 23 then at TCU? Was not successful. I had forgotten about him. And then he resurfaces at North Texas last year. He's like 3rd in the nation in total offense. Winds up at Virginia this year. And now another guy, Drew Mestamaker, redshirt freshman at North Texas this year. He's the nation's leader in passing. So he's done it again with another guy who was an unheralded recruit. And this is now a guy that this is the other part of it. Oklahoma State, you want to sell something early. You want to get people on board. You want to get people excited. Well, then get some instant results, get some instant impact. And that's what appears to be happening here. Drew Mestamaker could, I say appears. There is speculation that Mestamaker could follow to Stillwater, which makes total sense. And he's a guy that I think will have a lot of options out on the portal front, but you give yourself a great chance when you're bringing in his head coach, right? I think about like Bennett Sturts Bennett Sturts followed Ben McCollum from Drake to Iowa when he could have gone a lot of places in the transfer portal in basketball this past year. Seems like a similar sort of situation there. That's what you're hoping happens. Plus, North Texas, as you might imagine, with an offense as good as they have a 1,000-yard rusher, I believe is originally from the state of Oklahoma. Caleb Hawkins, maybe he could come. They've got a pair of pretty good receivers that people seem to think are P5 worthy. So even if you get a handful of those guys, you could really jumpstart your offense and get things working next year and be up and running quicker. Oklahoma State also, it's been reported that Oklahoma State's going to rev share at the full level. So they'll provide Eric Morris with a lot of resources, at least certainly very competitive resources across the Big 12, which is good because some of the narrative around Oklahoma State for a while there with Gundy had become, well, Gundy wasn't fast enough to get around to whatever he needed to do to get his NIL game in order. And I think that's been pretty well publicized by now, but that doesn't mean that it was like Oklahoma State was unwilling to give the money. It meant that Mike Gundy was unwilling to do what it needed to do to rally everybody around that. And I think Oklahoma State has worked very hard to prove that hey, we can do this. Like, we can compete for Big 12 championships and college football playoff spots. Like, we can do that. And I think to get Eric Morris, you definitely were going to have to prove that. Like, this is a guy that had a lot of interest and options. You were hearing his name connected to Arkansas quite a bit. And Alex Golish, he did not take the Oklahoma State job. I have no idea if it was offered to him or what. But he was another name involved there. That's another guy with a lot of options. And he was named enough that sure seems like there was at least some level of mutual interest. You're not doing that if you don't have a competitive NIL package, because these guys are getting a lot of interest all the way around right now. I've seen it reported a couple places that Colin Klein was the other finalist, former K-State offensive coordinator, current Texas A&M offensive coordinator, of course, Heisman Trophy finalist back in 2012. K-State fans will sleep a little easier, at least for, another couple days, that Colin Klein has not been hired yet as a Power 4 head coach. It won't be at Oklahoma State. It obviously would have been painful to see that happen intra-conference. To me, as I evaluate that, and I'm somebody that's very high on what I think Colin Klein's potential is, but it feels to me like it's like, okay, there's two guys who are, really good offensive minds. One has been a head coach and has proven it at Incarnate Word, where, you have to, I read a little bit about what he was saying about their facilities, and like, you're starting from the bottom of the barrel. He figured out how to win at Incarnate Word, and now has figured out how to win at North Texas. Like, he has the head coaching experience. He's proven it at really small levels that he can build a program. And by the way, even North Texas, though it does have some nice advantages, specifically geographically, another thing Shahan Jayaraja reported is that they're near the bottom of the American Athletic Conference in terms of NIL spend, rev share there. So he's found a way to make it work with limited amounts of resources, which I think always bodes well. If you're going to be if you're not Texas Tech and you're going to be at a Big 12 school, you may have to get a little more crafty and creative with your resources. I think that is a reason to be excited about this. So all that being said, probably less risky than taking Colin Klein, and maybe similar upside. I mean, I still think both of those guys I would view as high upside. This one seems like a little bit less risk, but I mean, who knows? Maybe Oklahoma State will regret that decision. Colin Klein is going to get a head coaching job somewhere, if not this year, in the very near future, but I think it may well be this year. So interesting how that seemingly came down. I'm hoping to catch up. You guys really enjoyed the interview I did with Carson Cunningham about what happened on the way down for Oklahoma State football when Gundy was fired. I'm hopeful to get linked up. We were trying to do it today. Schedules didn't quite work out. I'm hopeful to get linked up with him pretty soon to get some more insight on that. Maybe if that is true that Colin Klein was another finalist, what this means for the NIL situation at Oklahoma State. I know he's fired up about the hire, as I think he should be. So I'm looking forward to get you that. And hey, for some Oklahoma State fans that were like, hey, where's my downfall of K-State football video? Are you doing our downfall? I'll get you on the way back up here. I like your hire, and we'll try and get Carson on the show, who could give way more in-depth insight into that than I ever could. So congrats to Oklahoma State getting it wrapped up. I love the fact that Eric Morris will get a chance to continue coaching North Texas. Got a shot at the college football playoff. I really like that they are doing that. It's such a stark contrast to what's going on with Lane Kiffin, and I know so much of that is because it's like, well, if you're going to take another job within the same conference, like I understand how it would just be like, all right, just leave, dude. You're not coaching out the rest of the year with this team. But a little bit refreshing that that's going to be the situation at Oklahoma State. So anyway, I think that's going to